Welcome to Magic the Flavouring, the Magic the Gathering podcast, where we talk about all things magic, flavour design, and more. I'm your host, Andy Man.
Hello, this is Nathan Cancel, and I'm at just moment realising we should have written a theme tune.
Well, I want to be the very best.
Like no one ever was.
Do you reckon to catch them is going to be our real test?
And to train them, that'll be our course.
Oh, I hate it already.
Yeah, exactly. This is why we did do a theme song. Also, Cat, are you mad? Get out of it. Get out of it. Get out of it.
That's Muesli being kicked out of the recording studio for being very bad.
Immediately starts scratching around. He knows it. He's like, no, me. I know you're focused on something else.
Silent for like 10 minutes.
Honestly.
It's episode 151.
Hey!
We didn't do anything last week.
No.
And we had multiple people saying, you've just sailed past your 150. I suppose 150 doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, no, we hadn't sailed past 150. Now we have. We were at 150.
We're at
Not to be
151.
pedantic to the people that are engaged.
Oh, no, yeah, they're all like wonderful listeners that will
Yeah.
stay with us for like pretty much
Thank you.
151 episodes. Thank you very much. But no, this is it.
Yeah. As of this listening, you've made it. You've made it.
You've made it. This is it. This is the winner's
That's
circle.
it. We won't call it season 1. This was generation 1 of Magic the Flavouring.
Well, technically we're on season 2. Season 1 was the first 100 episodes, and then you went away.
Did we count it? Is it officially season 2 though? I'd like maybe it was
That's what it's been on Buzz.
Arc.
That's what it's been on Buzzsprout for the
Oh,
past
really?
51 episodes.
Okay, that's cute. That's cute. All right, okay, cool.
I've got a little something. So, regular listeners to the podcast will know that in season 2,
we adopted. That was the season 2 arc.
We've been
alcohol.
Well, yeah, it was me being lonely with a few people trying to make me feel better. Like big shout out to all the guests, and then you coming back and being like, "I bought the beers," and I was like, "Yay!"
Yeah, I guess
so
I
I've
know
got
what
the
we're
old.
doing
It's over the laptop.
Yep.
Hey. Oh.
It's super fancy Dom Perignon champagne. We promise.
It's definitely Moe and not
Remember to start with
Prosecco Doc.
Yeah, remember to start with the Tropicana.
Is it start with the orange juice?
Yeah,
so I'm a big fan of mimosas.
Yeah.
Nathan laughed at me when I brought in the orange juice. It's also smooth orange juice as well.
I mean, is it
How do you feel about that?
It's orange? No, it's fine. I mean, who wants bits with their champagne? Bubbly bits.
Mhm.
Ooh, that sounds like
Bubbly bits.
a Twitter handle.
How much of this do you want?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing then.
I mean, like, you don't want to overpower it too much.
So for everyone, this is like a half an inch of
Mate,
orange in
So-
these goblets that we're
so
drinking this out of.
Full disclosure, it's Bank Holiday Monday here, which for those who don't know, it's like a public holiday. We get the day off. Well, I say we get the day off. Average people get the day
Yeah,
off.
Nathan and I work in hospitality. We're not getting days
I
off.
just happen to have the day off, but it's also Thunderbolts Day today. I went to go and watch Thunderbolts, so I started the day with a rum breakfast. So I've actually gone through. Oh,
Oh.
that's gonna make noise.
Cheers.
Cheers. I've gone through full early drinking, early hangover, back into drinking again, mate. So I'm a true reprobate.
What are we doing today, Nathan?
Pokemon, right? So 151 episodes, 151 in the first generation of Pokemon.
Yes.
So initially we were like, hey, should we? And I'm so glad now.
We had so many concepts.
I'm so glad now that we landed on what we landed on, because originally we thought, hey, we'll actually just find magic cards for the first 151 Pokemon. Which, after doing what we're going to be doing, which is just going through each of the gym leaders from the first generation games,
Yeah.
and then going through their teams, and then finding a facsimile within Magic that represents what those Pokemon are on those teams.
Yeah.
Then also taking the gym leader, being like, hey, what Planeswalker would they be?
Yeah.
So basically just forcing Pokemon into Magic.
Everyone fucking loves Universes
Yeah.
Beyond.
And we can't do it with Pokemon, really.
All I hear about these days.
So we're doing it first. And again, after doing just the gym trainers, or gym leaders, shall I say, I'm very glad that we didn't do the first 151 Pokemon.
No, that would have been
It
savage.
turns out it's really hard.
I'm actually also not happy with this concept that we've done now.
No, neither am I. There were multiple times I was like, well, this is just fucking terrible.
Yeah. This entire concept was an utter slog. I didn't enjoy it, and the first 151 episodes of this podcast has been an absolute killjoy. So, welcome.
Cheers, I guess. Yeah, wonderful.
So, to set the parameters of our Pokemon extravaganza, we are, as Nathan said, going to do the original Generation 1 Pokemon Game Boy games. That means Pokemon Red and Blue. Mm-hmm. Whilst the differences between Pokemon Red and Blue, there are obviously some between generations as they carried on through the rest of the Pokemon series.
Arguably, you could say also green.
Well, I mean, no, because okay.
I did it really so big.
Okay, here we go. Here's how. Let's get into the nerdness already. So, obviously, in the UK and indeed the US, we had Pokemon Red and Blue. Pokemon Green and Red were the Japanese releases in 1997. I remember wrongly, I always remembered that I got Pokemon Blue with a blue Game Boy Pocket, which had the same hue plastic for both cartridge and Game Boy, in 1997. Because that, in my mind, that's when I got it, because that's when the TV show released and blah, 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 blah. In the UK, we didn't get Pokemon Red and Blue until 1999.
Years later. Which
is when, also, big year for Nintendo and get Pokemon, 1999 was also the release date for the Game Boy Color. So it's, I mean, slightly sad note, it just goes to show my parents at the time maybe didn't have that much money because they got me the Pokemon Game Boy Pocket.
Just come out.
yeah. So, like, but do you know, to my eyes, ultimately cool that I had a matching Game Boy because I got Pokemon Blue, so I got the cartridge and the Game Boy, and also Pokemon Gold and Silver were being released in Japan around the same time that these games came over to Europe.
Yeah.
So when you and I, as like OG Pokemon fans, like a lot of people our age were, when we have that kind of conflated knowledge of like the 151, we know everything there is to know about these Pokemon. But also, I had kind of a half hazy knowledge that those weren't the only Pokemon. It's because we were already seeing media from Japan of other Pokemon. And the first episode of the anime, again released in 1998, has
a Gen 2 Pokemon at the end of it.
In the very first fucking episode.
Yeah, so they were... Well, because I guess the manga was already... I mean, we haven't gone in... I'm not going into all of that kind of thing. Obviously, the manga was already existing ahead, and obviously that deviates, because that follows Red and Blue, which are kind of within Gen 2 anyway, because you battle Red. I don't think you're supposed to be the same trainer that you were in the first games.
In what, in Gold and Silver?
Yeah.
No, but you do meet them. So because you're... So, right, so in Red and Blue... You are Red because Pokemon Red is like the canon.
Red, yeah, because it's the first name that you can get.
Yeah. Obviously, I was Blue because they flipped the color name around. But the Ash character was Red, and the Gary train was Blue,
which was as it was in the manga.
Yeah. In Pokemon Blue, they flipped that round,
and then obviously when the anime came out, they then obviously gave them more specific characters, gave them more interesting names. Ash Ketchum, obviously Gary Oak being their names.
And then in Gold and Silver, after you beat the Elite Four, Blue, or Gary, is actually the 8th Kanto gym leader. He takes a Giovanni slot.
Blue in that? God.
And then you meet Red at the top of Mount Silver.
And that is supposed to be your character from the original game.
Yes.
If you were to say, we played the second one, it's like, hey, you're now facing your character. Which I guess only makes sense in the fact of he had a very typical Ash team. Well, he had every Pokemon you would naturally get in the game.
Yeah, he had a Snorlax, Lapras, a Pikachu.
Well, he didn't have a Lapras. He had He got the Eevee. So he had the Pikachu. So all of the starter Pokemon you could get. So the 3 original starters being Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, obviously in their evolved forms. You get gifted an Eevee. He evolved it into Espeon for coverage. The Snorlax that you get as you naturally go around, there are 2 of them that you can battle. Obviously, they have leftovers and stuff like that. Or no, they don't have leftovers. Leftovers is left behind in the space. You need an item find it, to catch it or to pick it up. Anyway, and then obviously the Pikachu, which is the one you get in yellow.
Do you know what, right?
Such a fucking nerd.
Do you know what, right? I was saying this to someone else the other day when I was talking to them about the concept of this, of our podcast episode here, and they went, "You seem to know a lot about Pokemon," and I said, "It's funny, Nathan and I feel the same role in our Pokemon knowledge as we do in real life, whereas I am very much the emotive, like, sort of narrative driven. I have like original memories that I really attach sentiment to, and like this is like a very like emotional response for me, and you have that too, but you obviously know a lot more about, like, say, the game mechanics and like how things worked and coded. I can
tell you what level they are.
Yeah, exactly. And I said to them, we could now, from episode 151 onwards, just be like, we're just doing Pokemon now. And we wouldn't miss a beat. There would be no change. We would change our logo and maybe the name, but the actual functionality of this podcast and the way that you'd listen to it.
Pokemon the captioning.
If you didn't pay attention to what we were talking about, you wouldn't even notice that we'd changed subject.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good that we have this passions, right? I'm also going to say, full disclosure, my first Pokemon game was actually Gold. I didn't play the originals until later, where we got hold of the original cartridges, and me and my mate Luke conspired between the two of us to catch because we had the link cable. We got 2 consoles, the 2 games, and a link cable, so we could do all the trading and everything.
Yeah.
I was the guy who had to do the Safari Zone, which sounds awful, but he was the guy who had to restart twice to get all 3 starters.
Which
would you rather be? You want to be the second one. You don't want to have to try and catch Chansey.
No. The Forest Zone's
Fuck
piece of
Chansey.
shit. So we're doing, specifically, to roll it back to what the fuck we're doing here.
Back to Magic the Gathering.
We are specifically doing Pokemon Red and Blue.
Yeah.
There is no, as far as I'm aware, there's no difference between the gym leaders in Pokemon Red versus Pokemon Blue.
It's the same.
So we're doing general. We're not doing fucking Pokemon Yellow. If your first Pokemon game was Pokemon Yellow, congratulations, you got the kiddie pool because they had to fucking nerf it all because Pikachu was shit against almost every gym leader, right?
Yeah, the teams are significantly worse. I think Koga, especially, it's just like 3 Venonats and a Venomoth.
Oh, also nerdy fact that I found out, real time, big chat, for the first time last 2 weeks when we discussed this. I have been playing, because I've played through Pokemon Blue 3 times in my lifetime. Every single time I played it the wrong way round, because I always tried to face off against Sabrina before Koga, and I didn't know that was an option.
Yeah, because I think the idea, right, they want, and this is kind of one of the things, I mean, also anyone who has even slight awareness of the games knows that they're held together with duct tape, you know, everything from their
those
programming
original
to
ones
the
were
structure.
they're Swiss cheese. They're fucking Swiss cheese.
Yeah, and I guess the idea was that you wanted to go all the way around,
Kanto.
I want to say, is it Celadon?
Yeah.
The city? In the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to go all the way around it, and then you go into it. So the idea is that you get all of the gyms around the outside, and you go, hey, now let's go into the big city where the Sylph Company is, where you get Mr. Psychic, I think, is there, isn't he? And then obviously the 2 different gyms. I think you go in, there are 2 gyms. There's the fighting gym, and the
fighting gym that's not doing so well.
Also, the fighting gym is next to the psychic gym, which was empirically the strongest type in that generation. Of course, you're not going to do very well. Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, if there isn't a normal gym in that
fuck off
generation,
to like Pewter City or whatever.
Yeah, and I guess the idea is that you're battling with the body or you're battling with the mind. It turns out the mind is a lot stronger, even when it comes to Pokemon battles.
And as we do this as well, we have to move at some speed, so we won't go into too much depth as to what our individual picks are. But as we talk about, so I did base some of my picks on movesets, for example.
Same. There was some
of these, when you really look at some of these trainers and the Pokemon they chose to give them as a team, some of the movesets they gave them are absolutely wild in terms of how fucking useless they are. And why did they think no one would notice?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the thing they try and get away with. I guess also they had no idea in the time how popular it was going to be.
No.
So they didn't have to worry about having, millions upon millions of people scrutinising the game. They're just going to be like, hey, we're doing the best we can with what we've got. And Game Freak are still beloved now, even if they're slowly but surely flushing the entire franchise down the toilet with games that aren't particularly good. But, that's a whole conversation for a different podcast that we'll do next episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we start with Bruno?
Who?
Exactly.
Brock?
Yeah, sorry, I literally just, the last thing I was looking at was Bruno. Sorry. Begins with B and has an Onyx. Carry on.
Quite. Is shirtless and doing something with his arms.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, we're alternating between the different gym leaders. Yeah. So it's me, Nathan, onwards. Yeah,
we're not both doing each gym, because that would take forever.
So, Brock, in Pewter Gym, he would want to become one of Ash's closest companions in the first couple of series. He has a Geodude and an Onyx. So, again, if this is the Rock Gym, both of his Pokemon are rock ground.
A lot of the rock Pokemon are also.
I know, but it's wild, isn't it? Where they're like, no pure rock types for Brock. He gets Geodude and Onyx. I love the design of both Geodude and Onyx as Pokemon.
Were there any pure rock types in Gen 1? I don't think there were.
Oh, there had to have been.
I can't think of one.
Alright, put a pin in that. Geodude's level 12, Onyx level 14, that doesn't really matter. Tackle, defense,
yeah, I didn't go into the levels.
Tackle, Screech, Bide as well for Onyx. So for Brock, I went for Koth of the Hammer as the Planeswalker equivalent. I mean, he's rocky, he's strong, he's, bit angry, which Brock kind of gives off. He's like slightly moody in the games right at first. So there we go. He's a dude who likes rocks. Some of these analogs are not the tightest.
Well, the thing is, there aren't that many. I looked it up. There aren't that many Planeswalkers, and there aren't that many, shall we say, niche stereotypes that animes love to do, that they go, this is the strong silent type, this is the wacky kooky one. It's like, cool. And they do that with Magic as well. And so the analogs, I think, are going to be pretty obvious for most time, and at the most, I think you're going to have 2 options to choose from.
Yeah, I agree.
One might be a bit more esoteric, one's going to be a bit more on the nose.
There's a couple that I think I hummed and hawed about, but this one, Koth of the Hammer, was always going to be there. For the Geodude, I went looking for the Golems of Magic.
Makes sense, yeah.
Golem.
Yeah. And
I ended up on Walking Bulwark, which is a 1-mana 0/3. So one mana, so he's like a cheap boy. He's this kind of round golem that has got a 0/3 with Defender. So Geodude has Defense Curl as one of his things. Do you know what I mean? And he's got tap 2. Until end of turn, target creature with Defender gains haste. It can attack as though it didn't have Defender and assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Activate as a sorcery. So it's a Defender who can tackle. defense skill tackle. And he's a golem. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I like it.
For the Onyx, you had exactly the same idea when we had like mini discussions.
Yeah.
Gotta be Stone Cold Serpent.
Yeah.
What more can you say?
Yeah, it's literally, my brain went, well, obviously.
It's a stone snake.
And you look at the picture and the card, and it's like, well, that just looks like Brock with the big old Onyx behind
What
him.
I also like it on a slightly meta level as well is that Stone Cold Serpent specifically, you can pitch depending on how much power you have, how much money you have. So as a gym trainer, there's a lot of meta lore with gym trainers which isn't fully explained as to what the fuck they are or how they operate.
Do they have a bunch of teams and they go, hey, this is for someone who only has one badge, this is for someone, and then, but what happens when those Pokemon then gain experience in that battle? Do they then level up and then you have to go, hey, can't use that anymore?
Pokemon is actually one of the loosest fucking lore systems on the planet. But I like the idea that it was an Onyx that could level up and do its own thing.
I like that.
I have one honourable mention for this, and then I'll pass it back to you. I really wanted to find an analogue for something like Rock Throw, or something that threw rocks, but it just doesn't quite work. The closest I could come to was Togo.
I was going to think of Catapult.
Togo Goblin Weaponsmith.
Oh yeah, well, that's pretty good. Yeah, he's literally throwing rocks at people.
I thought, could he be the Geodude? And I thought, well, yeah, but it doesn't quite work because Brock's Pokemon don't have rock moves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't. Let's not pick that apart too much. If we're gonna make the teams better, that's another whole.
That's my Brock. Pass it back to you, buddy.
Okay, so Misty, water type, likes water type Pokemon. I was gonna be like, oh, should I go for like Mew or something like that? I was like, no, it's Kiora.
Obviously, of course it's Kiora.
Obviously, it's Kiora. The issue with this, right, is that she only has her team is a Staryu and a Starmie. There are 4 Starfish in Magic.
Why is it? Why do I remember as well? I have this real sort of... There's a lot of Mandela effects going on. I swear down that she had a Goldie and a Sea King.
No. So
is that when you fight her again, maybe?
Again, it might be from her Gen 2.
Yeah.
Gen 2 gym. I've lost my Starfish. Because there are only 4 of them, that's how, very easily.
Is that only 4 Starfish?
There's only 4 Starfish, yeah. So you've got Plagoon, which I've deliberately avoided doing legendary creatures, at least initially. There's Sinister Starfish, which is the 0/3/1 black tap surveil one, which is a mirror and a later edition version of Sigiled Starfish, which is a 0/3 tap scry one. This is my Staryu.
Yay!
Because Sigiled Starfish, it looks kind of cute, and obviously Staryu has the little gem inside it. There wasn't anything that was exactly close to this. Also, it kind of portrays Kiora, because even though Kiora loves the deep and animals of the deep, she prefers big old chonky boys, not little pretty kind of things.
No, well, see, but this is it. I mean... This is the problem, right, with something like Pokemon that's been around since 1997, is that much like Magic, we have, like, modern look back at, like, how those things have been evolved over time. So, like, Misty, her nickname, because they always had nicknames for the gym trainers on their board, was something like the Swimming Tomboy or something similar.
Because the idea is like they were choreographed dance, like
her sisters. Yeah,
I think that she's not actually, even though she's the gym trainer that you face, I think she's actually like the least of the 4 sisters. She's the youngest,
yeah.
And the 3 of them are actually the ones who normally do the gym training. So as much as she was able to give Ash the badge, man, we are just going to derail into Pokemon with every one of these. As much as she was able to give Ash the badge, it was kind of, she wasn't actually supposed to be the main.
But
gym
I swear, like she has Gyarados and stuff like that in later games.
Yeah. I also looked at, so let's finish Starmie. So of the 4 Starfish I've named, I've already said 3 of them. The 4th and last one is Spiny Starfish, 2 and a blue, 0/1, blue to regenerate Spiny Starfish, because what does Starmie have? Recover.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, also being of the end step, I've done some other stuff, doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, my pool of options weren't particularly large. I also then tried to look up other crustaceans, which there aren't that many that fitted that kind of role. And even if then I tried to be like a little bit artistic license, and this is when I asked you about, are we going by the anime? Are we going by any game? Could I potentially go, hey, fuck you, I'm just going to look at all of the Gen 2 Kanto gym retrain? I mean,
no.
Do I do that? I didn't. But even if I tried to, Psyduck, there's no ducks in Magic apart from Personal Decoy, which is a tester card. And even if I did Seal, we've got exactly 1 Seal, and it's Howler's Heavy.
Well,
doesn't look like a sea lion.
There's going to be trainers later on, which I ran into exactly the same problem.
It becomes a bit of an issue. So yeah, Misty, it was only 2. I've got more to talk about later ones, so I'll hand it back to you.
Lovely. Next up, we have maybe like one of the sort of least represented, but like biggest fan favourite gym leaders that there is.
Surge.
Lieutenant Surge. Controversial for many reasons. I mean, like a real sort of infancy of, obviously these are the first games, right? And like they had the manga and some of the TV show going on, but the idea that he's an army man for a start suggests that in the world of Pokemon there has been a war.
where he mentions that he was hip. So this is one of the big theories, right? Is that we are living, when you go into the Pokemon world, you are in a post-wartime land, which is why all of the kids are out and about, gallivanting around, having animals attack each other.
None of the dads are there.
All of the officers are clones of each other. All of the nurses are clones of each other. And he does mention that he was in the war before. So there's this kind of theory that maybe there's this horrible, dark backstory that no one talks about. Because we like to play with our little pets.
Yeah. And make them fight each other to the death.
Yeah, make them fight each other to death.
So Lieutenant Surge of Vermilion Gym. I always like the name Vermilion Gym as well. So, his team are Voltorb, Pikachu, and Raichu. So this was sort of before Pikachu was the main mascot of Pokemon, because this game was designed when actually they were trying to push for Clefairy to be the mascot for Pokemon.
Which I'm surprised when they did Let's Go. I mean, obviously Eevee's a way more iconic and prolific character, but it would have been nice to do Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Clefairy.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. But then I suppose, obviously, as you say, like Eevee, you can then go down different routes with if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So we've got an angry army man who, at least in the characterizations early on, was characterized as being a bit of a dickwad and has a strong connection to the animal pals that's around him. Which Planeswalker comes to mind? Luca! And also the fact that he's like quite brutal with his Pokemon, at least in the manga, the anime, sorry, I know we've already deviated from Pokemon Blue. He forces his Pikachu to become a Raichu early on, which is
because it's more powerful.
So like he's kind of, in a weird way, sort of brutalizing it to like make it more powerful, even though the Raichu seems to be fairly into it. Anyway, let's not get into that. So there was a couple of Planeswalker cards for Luca. I went with Luca Coppercoat Outcast because it's the one that you can polymorph into new creatures. So it's like he's taking a creature back and throwing one out.
I was like, they do it using the stone polymorphs the creature from one
by
forcing evolution.
There is Rowan I could have picked because she's a spark mage, but and she's kind of angry and militaristic, but it just didn't quite fit the way that Luca did.
I guess Rao was the only other one that came to mind for me.
Oh fuck! I didn't even think of Rao.
He's a rain mage.
How did I not think of Rao? No, I think Luca's a better option. I've been a bit cheeky with some of these, so this is where I mean, it's only the second gym leader I did, but I've already dived into some legendary creatures for some of these.
Yeah, I get that.
Apologies.
That's fine.
Let's do the Voltorb first. What is Voltorb essentially? He's a ball, and he throws around lightning.
Yeah.
So I went for ball lightning. But it fits, man.
Absolutely.
So triple red, 6/1, trample haste. Voltorb and Electrode very quick.
The quickest Pokemon in the generation.
At the beginning of the end step, sacrifice ball lightning. Now, his Voltorb doesn't have self-destruct or explosion, fair enough, but that is an iconic moveset for that Pokemon.
It definitely would have, I think, if it could have learnt it by then.
Fair enough, yeah. So it has Tackle, Screech, and Sonic Boom. But the fact that it's also quick, it explodes, it's a lightning ball, fair enough. Now, Pikachu and Raichu, I did, for the evolutions, want to try and at least kind of marry them up so it'd be, like, sort of similar.
So you can just see it look and go, yeah,
a little
that makes
bit.
sense.
So for my Pikachu, there aren't that many mice in Magic. No. What? I was thinking, electric rodents. Oh, well, there is a precedent for otters in Magic.
Yeah.
So I went for Lutri the Spell Chaser for my Pikachu.
Of course. Also, Pikachu isn't a legend. As much as it's not legendary status, it is so iconic that it makes sense to have a legend.
Companion for Lutri is Pokemon that's got Companion and it's Flash 3/2. There's, when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, copy target instant sorcery spell you control. That makes it sort of Pikachu is quick. Do you know what I mean? It's another quick Pokemon. It's got quick attack and Thunder Wave and Thunder
Also,
Shock.
does it know Double Team?
Not in this game,
no. But it's a Pokemon that can learn Double Team, which is the kind of same as copying a spell. Copying a spell.
And then for my Raichu, which in this generation, if Pikachu has Thundershock, Growl, Thunder Wave, Quick Attack, the Raichu has Thundershock, Growl, Thunderbolt, and that's it. It doesn't have any speed moves.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Which is kind of cool.
It has Thunder Wave, which I guess cuts your...
No, Thundershock, Growl, and Thunderbolt.
What do you use for this? I'm using Cerebi.
I'm using Bulwer Garden.
Interesting. There might be just some discrepancy there between
those two. Well, Lieutenant Surge has 1x speed per Pokemon and use it randomly 20% of the time. Anyway, for my Raichu, I did another legendary otter, this one from Bloomburrow, Alania Divergent Storm. Yeah. So, costs more mana than Lutri. It's a 5-drop instead of a 3-drop. It's got bigger stats. It's a 3/5 instead of a 3/2. And whenever you cast a spell, if it's the first instant spell, first sorcery spell, or the first sorcerer spell other than Alania, you may cast this turn. You may have target opponent draw a card. If you do copy that spell, you may choose to do targets for the copy. So it just seemed like a natural evolution from Lutri the Spell Chaser. And that's my Lieutenant Surge team.
Wonderful. Lovely. Stunning. Good. Right, so Erica. Plant Mage. Who would you think normally would be like?
Oh, was it Nissa?
You think that, right? No, it's clearly Ren.
Oh, very good.
Oh, exactly, because I did the same thing. I've literally got Nissa would be the obvious choice, but it's actually
Ren.
Because she is a plant. She's half plant. And it also feels a bit more down to earth. I feel like just because Nissa knows how to create elementals doesn't mean she's actually just down with the green stuff all the time. And I think she's more about ley line magic than being, planty. So we have Victory Bell, Tangela, and Vileplume. An actual pretty decent team, thinking about it. The fact that they're all evolutions. In Pokemon Yellow, it would have been the middle evolutions. You'd have ended up with Gloom and I can't remember.
Weeping Bell?
Weeping Bell, thank you. Yeah, that's right. Weeping Bell, Victory Bell. Yeah, lovely. So we're going to start with Victory Bell. So it's funny, I went into... you're going to talk about how clever you are. I'm going to talk about my struggles. So the plants in Magic, as much as I thought I'll put that into the creature type, I'm bound to have a bunch of options. Turns out, no, there aren't actually that many options. There's not very many picture plants. There aren't a lot of different things that I'd expect there to be in Magic. In the same way, I was surprised there aren't more ducks. Even though ducks aren't magical, I'm surprised I haven't been over this many years of Magic more than at least 1 or 2 ducks. I was able to at least find Omnivorous Flytrap. It has Delirium. It does a thing when about attacking and putting counters on it. That's not really the point. The point is that the Antonio Jose Manzanado artwork is a big old mouth eating-y thingy, and that for me is exactly what Victory Bell is to me. Big old scary picture plant.
Yeah.
Why would you put eyes on it?
It's fun. It's so funny with the original designs of the 151 because of the limited color palette that they had to use because they knew they had to translate it into black and white mediums or like the anime early on. Some of the designs they went here. It's red. It's green, yellow. We need to make it look like an animal of some kind. Put eyes on it. We've drawn a plant, stick a couple of googly eyes on it, and you're done. And so many Pokemon follow that formula.
Well, funnily enough, going on from that, we've got Tangela. He didn't just get the googly eyes, but also has a pair of boots on him.
I mean, so you have Cloyster, Ghastly, Tangela, Shelder, so many black balls with an eye and a bit of a tongue, maybe. Like, so funny.
Yeah, again, I don't know how... if you made Pokemon in real life, which there was a DeviantArt page where someone does this and kind of makes them look realistic, a lot of them are frightening. Especially, like, the picture plants and things like Bulbasaur that you're like, that looks really cute. It's like a dinosaur that's also a plant is actually kind of scary. Terrifying.
I mean, even Detective Pikachu, which was like an officially sanctioned film by the Pokemon Company, they really just went like, no, Charizard is a dragon. It's a fucking dragon. It's not fun. It's like, oh shit, like...
Yeah, there's a reason why this is fantasy and fiction, right? It's a good thing it's removed from reality. Similarly, Rumbleweed being my Tangler, 10 and a green for an 8/8 plant elemental. Again, I expected to find more plants with legs. Turns out, not as many. I also went down the rabbit hole of Treefolk.
Yeah.
And then I also went down the rabbit hole of Elemental. Now, from plant to Treefolk, there's a bit of an uptick in terms of the amount of creatures. And then to Elemental, my god, it took a long time to find nothing that I wanted to use.
Well, they're all too humanoid.
Yeah, or they're so unhumanoid that it just didn't quite work and it was a bit too nebulous. Rumbleweed, however, is literally a big old swirling mass of vines and cacti and stuff with legs. Or at least it's meant to look like it has a big old leg stomping down. It costs 1 less for each land in your graveyard, doesn't really have much synergy to it. Vigilance for travel. Again, it was mostly for the aesthetics. I mostly went for aesthetics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me that doesn't look a little bit like a giant Tangler,
Yeah.
And then when we get to Vileplume, this was originally going to be my choice for Victory Bell, and that's my first legendary, Necrobloom.
Oh.
And the Necrobloom does look more like Victory Bell. It has the coloration on it. It has the little leafage coming out from the top, and then it obviously has what looks like a bit of a carnivorous hole in the top of it. But then also, if you squint a little bit, it also looks a lot like Vileplume. Also, the word Vileplume, Necrobloom. I'm like, there's a lot of synergy across there, and maybe not in terms of their abilities. I also went down a massive rabbit hole of like poisonous and looking for things that were poisonous and whether I could find something that had poison. I was expecting there to be some plant out there that oozed some kind of poison. I was mostly finding things like Poison the Well and stuff like that, which didn't necessarily fit onto a creature. Also, it made sense for her race to be a legendary Pokemon. So yes, Necrobloom for my Vileplume, Rumbleweed for Tangela, and then Omnivorous Flytrap for Victory Bell.
Is Victory Bell poison grass?
Yes.
It's wild how many Pokemon in the Gen 1 games are poison subtype.
I think the typing... Sorry, another big loud noise. The typing in general was very unbalanced. I don't think they put a lot of thought into it, and it wasn't really until... Again, they were just throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping it stuck.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of choices I think they just went, this feels right, and then fuck it. because that's why there were so many random normal Pokemon, which they probably could have got away with having less maybe normal Pokemon, or maybe they probably thought, this is why originally there was a bird type, right? Because flying and bird aren't, isn't an analogy, but having a bird type and a flying type felt a bit redundant.
Yeah.
So they just got away with it when, hey, anything that can flap is a flying type, which is why there are so many flying types. Anything that would be in the water, even though it's not made out of water, is a water type. Which is kind of strange. So I don't think a lot of... they've moved away from it recently. Like, look at the dragon poison and dragalge. Which lives in the water, but isn't a water type.
It's seaweed, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of... It makes sense, right? Of where I think originally they were like, hey, all fish are actually... They're water types, even though they're not made out of water.
There was a really good... I don't know if it's canon or not, but there was someone made a really good case for Lance being a dragon trainer, but not having all dragon Pokemon. And someone said... someone did a quote by Lance, quote unquote, quote unquote for the quote, where he said, not all dragon Pokemon are dragon type. And I'm a dragon trainer. Yeah. And it's like, oh, that's actually pretty sick.
You look at Gyarados and you go, yeah, of course, that makes sense.
Yeah. Nice. I like it. I like it a lot. Now, if this was me playing back in 1999, I would be doing Sabrina. But as we're doing it by the canon order, I'm doing Koga instead. How do you feel about Koga being an Elite Four by the time of Gen 2 happening, and his daughter taking over the
gym? That's
gym?
the thing that I found quite enjoyable about it, was the fact that some of the Elite Four was still the same, because... even the fact that Lance upgrades from being part of the Elite Four to being the undisputed champion, because Blue was like, hey, both of you as traders, Blue got it, and then Red gets it, and you both just go, yeah, but we're not going to stay here and defend our title. We're going to bugger off and go do other things. So I kind of like the fact that it shows a story progression.
Well, I mean, that is another big sort of question mark over the whole system of the Gym Leader Elite Four league system in the games. Is that are they really saying that by the time you get to the Elite Four are the region's 4 toughest trainers, and then you have a champion that is technically above them in hierarchy, but the champion has to be, by fact that they're the champion and they go through the system, a random 10-year-old who is beaten. Like, what?
Well, I think there's also a bit of a conceit there of where I think you can be a champion by beating the Elite Four, but it isn't until the second generation they've established that there is a champion that you have to beat. Yeah, because Blue's already done it, and Blue has become the champion or a champion or whatever. But the fact that I know that in the game they call you the champion, but there's obviously been a bunch of people that have managed to succeed and have been the champion at one time or another. So I think it's fine to just be a champion. Obviously, once you go in there and he's like, hey, I'm the strongest trainer, then you beat him, he gets really upset. It's like, yeah, but you still beat the Elite Four. Yeah. The only problem with that is that he wanted to be the strongest out of everybody. So that's where I think that fell apart a little bit. But I think I would have actually rather it been just a separate Elite Four with no champion for Gen 2. Yeah. Even though it was quite nice for it to be Lance.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, again, between Gens 1 and 2, because I guess they just didn't know where it was going to go even at that point still. They had the same Elite Four for both Kanto and Johto. Do you know what I mean? Like, they all work within the Indigo Plateau system, where then every subsequent game and region has its own league, or in the case of Pokemon Sword and Shield, it does away with those entirely, and, you know.
It's funny, like, yeah, we don't... I mean, I'm sure there probably is somewhere, there's some Battle Frontier or something on the later games where I'm sure you face some of the others. Like, I remember in Sun and Moon, in the Battle Tower, in the fight, you faced Red in the singles at the end, and you faced Blue in the doubles.
Well, I mean, again, in Sword and Shield, they do that because it's all based off of soccer, UK football leagues. You do that thing where you fight, like, it's like a knockout sort of tournament style, yes, exactly. Right? And you face you face different trainers from across different generations. And then in oh my god, was it Black and White? There's a World Series like sort of side gym thing which you can kind of do on the post game. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Koga. So Koga's a ninja, or his aesthetic is based off ninjutsu. He's a poison trainer. So I'm thinking Black Mana. Mm-hmm. Who's an assassin who is a bit poisony? Yeah, Vraska. Yeah, makes sense. I thought obviously Kaito is maybe a good ninja analog, but he's just not Koga. Yeah, he's just not Koga. No, I went for Vraska Betrayal's. I went for Vraska Betrayal's Sting, which is the completed Vraska, because she has her ultimate if a target player has fewer than 9 poison counters on, they get a number of poison counters equal to the difference. So it's like the ultimate poison effect. And I also like the fact that, you know, you can pay mana and sort of neg yourself to get her into play. So I thought that was quite nice. This was the one where I was like, shit, I thought there was going to be loads of fodder, and there just wasn't. So for Koga's Pokemon, we got 2 Koffings, which are, at least on my list, are carbon copies of each other. So they've got Tackle, Smog, Sludge, Smokescreen. You have a Weezing, which has Smog, Sludge, Toxic, Self-Destruct, and you have the Muck, which is Disable, Poison Gas, Minimize, and Sludge. And so let's go do the Coughings first. I definitely thought there was going to be some... Like, you have, like, Nettle Cyst or something.
Yeah.
I definitely thought there was going to be something that was going to be, like, a big pustule ball, whatever. The closest I could find was Puskami from Betrayers of Kamigawa, I think. I think that's the set symbol. So it's, it's too much mana. It's 5/2 black for a 3/3 spirit. And it's like it looks like a little gremlin, but he's got all these, like, pustule spirits that go around him. And it's tap for a black, sacrifice Puskami, destroy target non-black creature, and it's got Soul Shift 6. So I like the idea that he sacrificed himself to destroy something, like a self-destruct.
Very much so.
That was my input for the 2 Coughings. For Wheezing, again, it's the same Pokemon. It's literally, Wheezing is like, oh yeah, we've stuck 2 Coughings together. That's actually the lore. So what can I do?
Yeah, the Diglett to Dugtrio, the Magnemite to Magneton
exactly.
kind of thing.
So I did go a little bit off-piste. I had Contagious Nim. Which is, so it's got Infect.
That does ring a bell.
Oh,
it's away from Mirrodin, is it? No, it's new Phyrexia.
Yeah.
Or
no, Scars Mirrodin.
Scars of Mirrodin, thank you. Before.
So again, I was like, I'm not quite sure. It's a zombie. So that's one of the first times in this experiment that I really kind of fell down and was like, I don't really.
Why aren't there just more gaseous elemental Pokemon?
Just give me a ball with Infect, anything.
Yeah.
I looked through so much Infect and Toxic. So that's maybe the one that I'm not happy with. With Muck, there are fuck tons of oozes in Magic, you'd think. There are enough, but they're all
green.
They're all green, and all their mechanics revolve around consuming things to get bigger. That's the route. They've gone down the D&D route.
Yeah, sure.
Not the only thing is acidic slime.
Not being corrosive, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not really it.
I guess acidic slime, being able to destroy anything and having death touch itself.
I went with, instead, Consumptive Goo. 2 black for a 1/1 ooze. This is from I don't know what's the dragon head set symbol.
A Scourge.
Scourge, well done. So for 2 and a black, you pay 2 black. Target creature gets -1/-1 to end of turn. Put a 1/1 counter on Consumptive Goo. So I liked the fact. Here's my dual thought on this. The -1/-1 is obviously the poisoning effect with poison gas and sludge, right? So I liked that because it has the same effect as like poison counters. The +1/+1. In my mind, because the other big thing with Muck, much like your Chanseys or your Milk Tanks, for example, from Generation 2, is a real sort of like tanky Pokemon style, because it has Disable, so it will disable one of your moves at random, so maybe it will disable like your biggest like special attack. And then because it has Minimize, which it spams for the first few turns, it basically makes itself impervious to attacks because you can't fucking hit it.
Yeah.
So I liked the idea that if this ooze is getting bigger and bigger, it's almost like it's becoming impervious to whatever you're trying to attack with, and it's just blocking and fucking you off. So Consumptive Ooze for my Muck.
Like it. Very good.
And that's my Koga.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, it gets a bit tricky when certain Pokemon are a very specific thing, and you kind of have to find in Magic. You have to kind of go like, I can't just put in, as you did, you can't just put in like wet. I want my Pokemon to be like a wet liquidy Pokemon. And we'll get to why I struggled with this a little bit later. But let's go to Sabrina. And it's funny because aesthetically, she's more of like, I saw her more as like a Liliana kind of character, especially in the anime. She comes across as being that kind of like really standoffish, and obviously the ghost Pokemon what makes her laugh, so it gives her kind of this grim kind of persona. But ultimately, she is telepathic, and she is a bit of a douche. So unfortunately, I did fall on Jace.
Oh, Jace gets a shout out. I wondered if we'd get him.
Yeah. Whiny things, and again has that even more now, that kind of slightly villainous kind of quality to her, to him, and Sabrina had that to her as well.
Yeah, they really paint it. I mean, obviously we've said this with a couple of gym leaders now, like Lieutenant Surge and like Koga a little bit, but like they really had Sabrina be like this evil entity, because she. In the anime, at least, it's like you meet Sabrina's dad, and he's like mentally scarred by like this psychic daughter that he couldn't control. And then someone gave her a gym.
Yeah, and she also has that doll, doesn't she?
Yeah,
that she talks through. It's very Resident Evil Village.
Yeah.
It's got kind of
it's when the first series really dipped into a little bit of like Japanese horror vibe, especially with the Ghost Pokemon as well.
Oh man, yeah, and the Ghost Graveyard, the Marowak. Anyway, also she also had a whip in her sprite, doesn't she? And
she does.
Jace is also a bit of he was mean to Luke. But also, do you reckon Vraska whips him with her?
No, but I mean, she's got
bang him a little bit.
No, but I mean, she's got some pretty did nails. So
yeah, sure. Yeah, we don't need to know more about that. Okay, this is where it started getting complicated, right? Because Kadabra, Mr. Mime, Venomoth, Alakazam, cool, diverse team, wonderful. What are Kadabra and Alakazam in terms of animals?
Now, this is Gen 1's real obsession, and there's more of it than you think, especially for us purists who are like, the original 151 is what Pokemon should have always been, blah, blah, which I was for a long time. You were talking earlier on about your history of playing the games. I only played, and as a massive Pokemon fan my entire life, I only played past Gen 1 at uni, and I sat down with all the emulators and whatever consoles I could get legit, and played through every generation at least once, if not twice. So it's only then did I really look back at the original 151 designs and go, there's a lot of humanoids that are just like, what if it was a muscly dude with a pair of pants? And you're like, what? Hang on a minute.
What happens when he takes his belt off?
Yeah. Does he evolve with the pants?
It's like, why is he wearing pants if there isn't something to be hiding?
Did someone give Kadabra the spoon, or did it evolve with the spoon?
If all of them just lay eggs, do they actually need proper reproductive parts, or is it cloacas like with birds?
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows?
I sort of...
Pokemon cloacas isn't where I thought this episode would go.
Because in my mind, they're all a little bit like sort of marsupial-ish, but then they do have like these claws, and like their heads are weird shapes.
They're supposed to, I believe, be foxes.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of very useful.
Because, that clicks into place now.
Because there are a bunch of foxes in Magic, but there's also a bunch of fox folk.
Yeah.
We're going to come back to Kadabra. Let's tackle the subject of Mr. Mime, shall we?
What were we just saying about weird humanoid Pokemon?
Yeah, and also living at home with Ash's mum.
Oh, do you know what? That theory, I don't know. I don't love that theory.
I know,
it's such a thirsty little thirst box where I'm like,
not at least put a little light, shine a little light.
Everyone knows Ash's dad is Professor Oak. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I looked up all the clowns of Magic because there are a few of them now.
Oh no!
None of them worked.
Oh God.
Okay. So what is Mr. Mime mostly known for?
His miming.
Yeah, but what in terms of moves?
Oh, light screen
and
protect.
Yeah, and what other ones?
Double slap.
Like reflect and barrier. Yeah. What?
Oh, Pramicon.
No, I weirdly enough have gone. It's kind of a bit stupid. Mr. Mime is so humanoid that I just went for a human. I went for Teo.
Oh my God! You went for another planeswalker.
He makes walls, and he also gives you hexproof. So he gives you defensiveness as well as your own team defensiveness, as well as putting up barriers himself.
Oh, it does make sense.
I know, it's annoying. I couldn't find anything. Also, Teo's a bit of a fucking clown in terms of,
oh no,
in terms
of
his treatment.
Teo.
He's probably got better now, but I don't know. He was all right. He was okay.
I liked him.
He was okay. But it was the closest I could find without getting and also the more I looked at Mr. Mime, the less I wanted to find an allegory within Magic.
I can't believe. So I have a lot of opinions about what Pokemon designs throughout the years should have been put in the back burner and what one should have been explored a bit more. I cannot forgive the Pokemon Company for the Mr. Mime, Mr. Rhyme.
Mr. Rhyme is...
Who the fuck?
I think it would have been better if we called Mr. Time because he keeps time.
No! I don't need a Pokemon that tap dances!
Yeah,
why is he old?
What about Mime Jr.?
Oh, it's all horrible. It's all horrible, and I can't believe that they went down that road.
And female Mr. Mimes are still called...
Mr. Mime.
Mr. Mime.
Well, you could argue that's actually quite progressive in a way, but
it definitely wasn't meant to be. I like how I'm just putting Venomoth into Scryfall.
Is Venomoth a bug psychic?
No. Bug. Oh, this is.
But it did learn psychic as a main move.
Yeah. That's why it was known for. Also, this is a small amount of type diversity on teams, which is unheard of
for the gym leaders. Yeah.
I'm surprised there wasn't a Hypno, given the fact that you can catch one very local to that area as well.
You can catch one next to Vermilion City.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. My laptop's being very slow, and instead of having a million different fucking tabs open, I'm trying to redo them. Cool. Venomoth. There are lots of moths. Just a short list of all the moths that I thought could potentially be. This is what was really annoying. Is I really struggled to find a pitcher plant, but there are 10 different fucking moths. Either people riding moths. There's those people in Kamigawa that ride moths. There's also moths within Kamigawa. You've also got things like Hawk-Eater Moth, which is a really old school moth. Looks very much like Venomoth. I even thought of Luminous Brood Moth.
Yeah.
From Ikoria, even though the abilities don't really work for it. I settled on the Wise Mothman. Not only does it's a moth and it looks very much like Venomoth, but Venomoth has Poison Powder, Wise Mothman gives rad counters, which makes you mill, poisoning, obviously having radiation poisoning, that kind of thing. And then also, whenever those are milled, you can put +1/++ counters on thing. It also has leech life as one of the moves. It's one of the few times that I was like, oh, but the moves actually work out quite nicely with this. So I went for the Wise Mothman. Come and fight me if you think one of the other 10 moths in Magic are closer. But I also like further on into the gym trainers, the idea of facing legendary creatures I think is quite cool. We get back round to Kadabra and Alakazam, and this is a little bit of a cheat because both of them are on the same card.
Okay.
So Kadabra is Kitsune Mystic, 3 and a white for a 2/3. At the end of turn, if Kitsune Mystic is enchanted by 2 or more enchantments, flip it. How many spoons does Kadabra have?
Kadabra has 1.
How many spoons does Alakazam have?
2.
So once it's enchanted by 2 or more enchantments, you flip it. You flip it into Autumn Tail Kitsune Sage. Has exactly one ability. 1, move target enchantment from enchanting a creature to another creature. It moves things with its mind.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And they're both foxes, and it literally evolves from one into the other
Yeah,
through a
that's good.
stupid stipulation like trade evolution is, you motherfuckers at Game Freak, give me Gengar.
Yeah.
How dare you? Even though I think in Gen 1 you actually can trade for a Haunter that does evolve. And it's one of the few times that it doesn't have a, oh, sorry, did my Haunter have an Everstone on it?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
That's really good. Well done.
Thank you. That's peak, by the way. That's me peaking. It goes, I don't know, actually. I think Giovanni's alright as well, actually.
How do you feel about the Venonat, Venomoth, Caterpie, Butterfree mix-up?
It's the same thing of what do I feel about how Gengar is just the shadow version of Clefable.
Well, that's even more apocryphal, though,
and then
isn't
you've
it?
also got the Cubone into Marowak, into Kangaskhan, and is the Kangaskhan kid is Cubone just a lost Kangaskhan kid?
Yeah.
And then takes a Kangaskhan head and puts it on its head, and is that just if it was made these days, would that be a very, very sad, and they probably would do it because it's really dark, is that a split evolution?
Oh, they've done darker things.
Cubone can then evolve into a Kangaskhan if it has the mother around, or because the mother died, it evolves into a Marowak using the skull of its
literally
mother.
gave Corsola an evolution where it's a dead Corsola.
Yeah, but you don't feel bad for that because it's not a mother and a baby.
Also, how do we feel when you put Charizard and Dragonite next to each other? Not only are they both bald-headed dragon Pokemon, but they have exactly the same colour palette.
Yeah, there's a lot. Well, we'll get to the whole Dragonite thing a little bit later, won't we? I'm not happy about that either. But it's okay, it's fine. It's fine. They don't need to have consistency in their first generation of Pokemon. They got way more consistent later in the games. It's fine.
They also gave us a set of keys as a Pokemon. Fucking
true.
Blaine. So Blaine always sticks in my imagination, having played those games early on, as being like a real sort of the first part of the game where I was like, I feel like almost out of my depth, and I don't know why. As in, conceptually,
it's because you have to go through the deep ocean.
There is that. But I think that's the point. That's the part of the game where, even knowing this as an adult, they really start to unpack the Mr. Fuji Mewtwo.
Where you can't get into the gym without having the key from the mansion.
And you have to go to Cinnabar Island, and you have to go through the labs, and then you start reading all the entries about how they fucking did genetic shit to these Pokemon. And the game really just went like most Japanese games do, RPGs, where they went, here's your overworld, also everything's fucked. Yeah. And you're like,
hey, you had a really fun time up till now, here's the dark backstory.
Yeah. And it was, even as a kid, even playing them again as an adult, I was like, this is where, this is the sort of, the end of Chapter 2 arc, where, your anime, which has had a pretty solid conceit, one of them finds a big revelation that turns the whole anime on its head, and now it becomes something completely different. This is
when you find out all the walls have titans in them.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And then the anime is just a completely different beast from then on in. Or this is Chapter 3 of Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Full Metal Alchemist, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, where they started introducing all the animal people. And you're like, oh, so now they're all chimeras and shit. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Blaine. He was very different in the games than he was in the anime in terms of just his whole vibe, his whole Pokemon set and everything.
I genuinely thought he was I thought he was Mr. Fuji undercover.
Yeah, so did I.
There aren't very many bald characters in the game.
He also absolutely looks like a riff on Dr. Robotnik.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Dr. Eggman, Dr. Robotnik. That's another debate. All right, Gen 1 team. We've got a Growlithe, an Arcanine, a Ponyta, or a Ponyta, as someone said to me the other day.
Ponyta. Yeah, that's what I'd go for. I mean, you called it a Joe-Dude earlier?
Joe-Dude! I was hanging out with my mate Joe this weekend. A Ponyta and a Rapidash. So, really, a fairly fucking like white bread fire team.
But also, I feel like you then, because of that, you get to go through all of the dogs and then find things that are like kind of cool. Also, Arcanine's a really cool Pokemon to try and find for. Also, there are a surprisingly large amount of horses, I think, also in the game.
Yes, but there
on
are
fire,
and also fire dogs.
Yeah, true. Actually, I guess.
Do you know what? There's a real precedent for lightning dogs.
Yeah, because I guess you got a couple of Cerberuses out there, but they don't really fit because they've got too many heads.
So let's go through it then. So for my Planeswalker, I went for again fire Planeswalker. Who jumps to mind?
I mean, you please tell me you went for Jaya and not Chandra.
I went for Jaya, fiery negotiator,
Okay.
because Chandra can get in a bin.
Get in a bin. You've got enough cards. You don't need representation.
Jaya fits better, and here's why. Right, so she's a little bit older, a bit more mature. As is Blaine. Blaine's an older gentleman. Jaya's an older lady. The Fiery Negotiator card, her +1 ability is create a 1/1 red monk creature token with prowess, which I sort of interpreted as being the other scientists on Cinnabar Island.
Sure, yeah.
And also, there's two other elements to this, which is in canon for Jaya, she is a teacher at Kerrel Keep.
What, and in Blaine's gym, you go through a test.
Well, he's essentially a test master.
Yeah.
And also, I do think in the anime, he disguises himself as Mr. Fuji.
He's got the wig on and everything.
Yeah.
That's when he whips it off and he goes.
So Jaya disguises herself as.
Oh,
what does she call herself? I can't remember.
It's Mother Lute, not Luch, because that's the card. Something like
I
that.
think it is Mother Luti or something.
Luti, yeah, instead of Lutri. I mean, look, it's 30 years of magic. All the names are going to get kind of similar soon.
Yeah, Mother Fruit Loop, whatever the fuck her name is. And then she reveals herself to be Jaya. So I kind of think it works on most levels.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do Ponytail Rapidash. So I didn't go for fire Pokemon, fire creatures on this one because there's a couple of like nightmares. I was looking at nightmares and horses because nightmares, a lot of them are horses.
Oh sure, yeah, you got like Timbermare and
yeah.
I guess the original Nightmare is a nightmare horse. Right?
Yeah, I actually went down the lightning route.
Sure.
Because I think if I'm going by Avatar: The Last Airbender rules,
I was going to say yeah, it's just hyper focus fire. That's how physics work. Yeah.
God, this is such a fucking nerdy episode. I actually think this is quite good as a pair. So for Ponyta and Rapidash, I did Lightning Mare for Ponyta, a 2-red 3/1 elemental horse, into Thundermare, which is a 5/1, 5 in a red, 5/5. Thundermare was the original creature type in 9th edition, then they changed it to elemental horse.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So I think as a pairing, the movesets aren't, they're whatever, but there we are. For Arcanine and Growlithe, you would think there is quite a bit to go on. A lot of the dogs in Magic that are like elemental dogs are quite aggressive looking, and I don't think that's because really what they went down for Arcanine was that kind of like dragon dog look, right, of sort of like Chinese myth and like Japanese myth, and it's also got like this tiger sort of,
Yeah, it reminds me more of the what is it, the battle armor, the Konami battle armor, and it reminds me of that kind of dog, the one that's from the latest Kamigawa set.
So I had a few things to go on. I did end up going for maybe more traditional like fire dogs. So for Growlithe, I went for Chandra's Magmut. Chandra gets a look in. 1 and a red for a 2/2 elemental dog, where you tap it deals damage to a target player or planeswalker. And then I did Wildfire Cerebrus. 4 and a 1, 4/3 Hound. With 5 red Monstrosity 1, right? And I just kind of thought that was, that was fair enough. Sort of a so-so. Blaine was hard.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't go for Calamity. Just being it's only because it's recently in my mind, because I tried to put a copy in and realised it doesn't work with all the legendary creatures because it makes legendary copies.
Well, I didn't, and there we go.
Yep, yeah, fair enough. Okie Giovanni. Now, I tried to get a little bit meta with this, and I was thinking, villains, returning villains. Do I go for like Tezzeret or Obnixilis or something, feeling villainous enough, but it doesn't really work. And then I thought, well, who works with ground stuff? Who did like a Geomage other than Koth, which we already knew was going to be Brock?
Tyvar?
No, who is also a bit of a villain. Nahiri?
Oh, shoot. Yeah, that's a good one. I was really looking at you, having no idea.
Yeah, I was like, oh, dear, right, we've lost him. Cool, so this is where I start to really like jack up the power level of the creatures, because I'm thinking, in the game, you start getting towards Giovanni, you've already faced him twice, this is his ultimate team. And we're going to start with it with a wet blanket of a Rhyhorn, because Rhyhorn is a terrible Pokemon, especially when you could have had, and this is the thing that annoyed me, and the main reason I actually wanted to go with Yellow as well, was because he has a Persian, and that would have been quite a fun one to go for. It's annoying that he doesn't have a Persian and have a bit of type diversity in his team, considering half his team is also Rock anyway. But that's fine, you can have a Rhyhorn. Now, Rhyhorn could be a really good Pokemon. It could be a really good Pokemon, but
it's actually one of my favourites design-wise.
But it's not. It knows Stomp, Tail Whip, Fury Attack, and Horn Attack. So it knows normal attacks. It doesn't know any stab moves whatsoever.
The 8th gym leader.
Yeah, even though you've got Dig and Earthquake available by this point, and you have any Rock moves available by this point, but you don't have any of those on there. You have Tail Whip on your Rhyhorn. So it could be really good, but it's not. So what I went for was I went for Cliff Runner Behemoth. 3 and a green for a 5/3 Rhino Beast. Looks very much like Rhyhorn.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a 5/3, and it has haste as long as you have a red permanent, and it has lifelink as long as you have a white permanent. So it could be really good, but by itself it's not. Which is why I went for Rhyhorn. Why I went for Cliff Runner Behemoth. And this is all the way back from, I want to say, is this Conflux? This is Conflux, yeah. And then we start getting a little bit spicy. Because Dugtrio is his second Pokemon, and I was like, I want a mole, but I want a good mole.
Right.
And I only know one really, really good mole.
Graph Mole?
Anzrag. And the idea that Anzrag comes out really fucking quickly. He's 4-drop for an 8-power creature, so he's hitting you for command damage quicker than you'd ever think. How fast is Dugtrio?
Super fast, yeah.
Fast as ground type, yeah. And you get it really, really early on at a really high level in Diglett Cave at like level 31 when nothing else is at that level. And if you catch one, you just dominate the mid-game. No one's beating you, even Blaine can't stand up to that. So every time I play that game, I always go and get my obligatory, ridiculously over-leveled level 31 Dugtrio from Diglett Cave, and I'm like, Game Freak doesn't know what they're doing. Little do I know that I'm just ruining the game for myself, because I'm just doing the same paint by numbers I do every time.
God bless those, like, you know, I'm guessing 20-year-old game developers that Nintendo put in a basement and was like, whilst we're working on Mario, you do this fucking,
they Sabrina-ed them.
Do it, please. You do this weird little goblin game, whatever we're doing, like.
Exactly, wonderful. And then, right, so Nido King, Nido Queen. Now, this is quite difficult, because once you start getting into bestial kind of looking Pokemon. There's a lot of beasts.
Kaiju Pokemon.
Exactly. So I went.
Of which there are a few. That's another big trope in the first gen.
Yeah. So I went around the races a little bit with them, but I ended up trying to stick with something dinosauric and some dinosauric. Sure.
We'll let it go. Yeah.
Yeah. Something a little bit Jurassic, shall I say? But then also legendary. So for Nido Queen, I went for the best gal, Galta.
Mm-hmm.
Big, strong, girly dinosaur. I was always going to go for Gishath, but Gishath's a bit meh. We don't like Gishath as much. I prefer Galta. And then to balance that, originally Nido King I was going to go with Tetsamok, because it was the closest I could find to having like a poisony pointed dinosaur. I know you use it, and it's got that kind of idea of has all the spines, and it throws out prey counters and then destroys them. Instead, I went for the biggest, most strongest, baddest, overpowered dinosaur I could find, Zilortha.
Okay, yeah.
Because if you get a Nido King, again, going by game meta, you get your Nido Ran on like Route 3, I think maybe Route 4, just before you get into Mount Moon. You get the Moonstone in Mount Moon, and the level cap, I think, is around level 16, 17, something like that. So you can have a Nido King as early as Misty.
Yeah. My first playthrough of Pokemon Blue, my pack horse Pokemon, and the one that was like easily the most overleveled, was my Nido Queen. I fucking love Nido Queen. And
they can learn all of the really cool abilities. They even learn things like Water Gun, which is
Thunder,
Bumblebee and whatever.
Surf, Earthquake, and I think Fire Blast, I think.
Yeah, the fact that it can learn so many, it's an all-round good guy. I couldn't find anything that necessarily did that otherwise. I was going to try and look at something that just did everything and be cool and whatever, and maybe that would have been Zakama. Because there's a little bit of everything. There's 3 different activated abilities of 3 different mana types, which kind of works with the fact you can give it all the elemental punches. But Zilortha is the most strong, dealing all of it, being a 7/5 or whatever. It made sense to me. And then Rhydon. Stuck with the Rhino, stuck with Legendary. I went for Rune.
Oh, okay.
Now, Rune's a little bit of a strange one. One, it's bipedal, so I wanted my Rhino one to be bipedal. I could have gone for the OG, not Legendary, but the OG Rhino cool creature, which would have been Rocks, which assigns damage 5/5 for 5 mana. It assigns damage as if it wasn't blocked, and I think you pay 3 mana to regenerate it or something. I went for Rune because Rhydon on Giovanni's team has both Fissure and Horn Drill, which are 1-hit KO moves, and Rune can blink your opponent's creatures out of existence. Just like that, it's gone. And just as if he clicked Fissure or clicked Horn Drill and somehow was faster than you, because I don't know how you got a creature, a Pokemon that was slower than a Rhydon, and then it would just blink and it's gone. So to me, that made a bit of sense.
I really like it. I think that's really cool. Where do you sit on what the true first ever Pokemon is? Is it Mew, Rhydon, or Bulbasaur?
It's the first one that was designed. Because the numbers in the decks can change. I know that if you have the national decks, then it would always be Bulbasaur as the first one. And as much as people say that Mew was the first one to exist biologically, the first one designed, the first thing that was ever created and in existence as a Pokemon was Rhydon.
Yeah.
And the fact that that's the sprite that you see all the time. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's the progenitor of all other Pokemon.
Lovely.
Do you agree, or are you like, nah, mate, Mew?
Bulbasaur.
Yeah, you're a Bulbasaur stan. Fair enough.
He's the first Pokemon. He's number one. Excellent. I love it. So that's all the gym leaders.
Yes.
Let's do the Elite Four.
Yeah.
We moved on to the Elite Four. I think the gym leaders is interesting because other than Sabrina's Venomoth, I think all of them have like full type teams, even if they don't learn all the type moves, or crossover like subtypes and things like that. What I kind of appreciate about the Elite Four, even though it is frustrating from like a flavour point of view, I guess, because you want them to all be nice and neat in a box, is that the Indigo Plateau Elite Fours, they sort of have a type preference, but they also go for like the vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Lorelei's, most of her Pokemon are also water type. I think Lance, every single one of his Pokemon is technically, well, once you get into the later generations, are mostly flying types. So he's actually more like a flying trainer.
Yeah, Bruno's like a fighting Elite Four, but he's got like 2 Onyx.
Yeah, the 2 Onyx have always been a question mark. That's just because even though they could have just give him a Primeape.
Yeah.
And then just give him a Machoke with a very different move pool. Put the Machoke early on.
Or a Machamp.
Well, he's got Machamp as his ace.
Oh, sure.
But give him a Machoke to begin with to do, I don't know, do some stat
low
lowering
kicks or something
like that, whatever. Yeah, and then follow up with the rest of them. Because it's not as if like you're adding coverage to help. I guess the idea is that, Onyx can help you against flying types. It's like, no, he can't. Onyx is shit.
Oh well, hang on now.
Well, we will get to it, but don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, he's not the best, shall we say? You could have given them a Rhydon or something else, or any other kind of coverage.
Anyway,
cool.
So let's do the Elite Four. Always felt good going up that like walkway with like you could still catch like sand slashes and shit on the way into facing Lorelei. It
was really annoying being like, hey, whoa, have you got this badge? So yeah, all right then, go ahead. 10 steps later, whoa. Who was ever going there?
You could technically.
Yeah, but who was? I mean, I guess, is there that player out there that every time they got a new gym badge, they went, oh, can I get a little bit further?
What is there? Can I catch more Pokemon?
Yeah, can I catch more Pokemon? Yeah, maybe. Cool, fine.
That's probably exactly what they designed it to do.
But no one actually really... Everyone hit the first one and went, I guess I'll come back here at the end then.
Yeah. Lorelei. So Lorelei is ostensibly an Ice Elite Four trainer.
Yes.
That's kind of the vibe she gives. Her, in every depiction of her, she's got like this kind of ice field as her like room. Even in the original games, I think they gave it like a little bit of flavour.
Over with the glasses, like shing.
Yeah.
Kind of quality.
Her little epitaph. Is it an epitaph if she's still alive? I don't know. She's got a cool, logical, calculated style of battling. So I was like, okay, ice trainer, cool, logical, stylish, kind of pretty. Will.
Yeah, it's got to be right. It's funny how, again, like you pigeonhole... If you took every type of the Pokemon chart and tried to layer it onto a Planeswalker, I don't reckon many of them would have too much like options. It's very clearly this one.
I'm not going to lie to you. My team for Lorelei is a fucking mess.
Cool, good.
This is bad. This is bad.
Yeah.
And I will happily accept people telling me what their version of this are. But let's get into it. So, we mentioned it earlier. We're talking about potentials for Misty's team with Seal and Dugong. I couldn't, obviously, there is only one Seal and Magic. Yeah. It doesn't work. Yeah. So instead, I went down the Merfolk route.
Cool, yeah, makes sense. I like it.
Because in mythology, seals
that's originally where people
islands
think they came from, right?
Yeah, like sirens and like mermaids and selkies and things. There are also selkies in Magic, but they are very much sea lions, right? So I wanted to go for something with the fin. I also wanted to go for something that was like kind of beautiful as well, like a beautiful merfolk, because I think Dugong is kind of painted as being this very elegant, and it's like, Dugong. So I went for, again, this is a hot mess. I didn't find a good one, but I went for Wishful Merfolk from Eldraine. 1 and a blue, defender, 3/2. Wishful Merfolk loses defender and becomes human until end of turn. So it's actually the Little Mermaid, Ariel.
That's exactly what it is.
I kind of liked it, man. And it kind of fit with Lorelei as well. Lorelei being, she's kind of stylish and kind of a bit like, she's a bit modelly.
Is she also red? I think she's a redhead, isn't she?
She is a redhead, technically. Yeah, so it kind of works, man. My Lapras, which is ice water. You never think of it being an ice Pokemon. But it is water Pokemon. It's water ice Pokemon.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those ones that you don't get until very late, if at all, so you don't really get a chance to explore it much.
I love how they decided that bird and flying were different things, but they went rock and ground are different, and then they went ice and water are different. And they gave them that whole. But almost every water Pokemon, every ice Pokemon is also pretty much a water Pokemon. Like in the anyway, whatever.
Yeah, it's very, very.
So Lapras. The Lapras is her strongest Pokemon question.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah, Body Slam, Confuse Ray, Blizzard, Hydro Pump, fairly iconic. Now, this is another one where I was like, there's got to be shit tons of these like Mesosaurs in Magic, and there's like a couple, but they're not right.
No, none of them look the right thing, right?
So I was like,
there's
okay,
a Hull or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah, I was like, Slim Voda doesn't really work. So I kind of went, okay, well, what's Lapras kind of based on? It's kind of based on that Dragon Turtle kind of thing and whatever else. And there's a few of those knocking around. So, long story short, I fucking biffed it and I went for Mistford River Turtle. So it's a 3 blue turtle with 1/5, right? So it's got a big old butt, which, Lapras is kind of a big defense Pokemon. Whenever Mistford River Turtle attacks, another target attacking non-human creature can't be blocked this turn. Look, I went because of the picture, has a little humanoid riding on the back of the turtle.
That's Lapras, right?
And Lapras is used as a transport Pokemon. So fucking sue me. Let's move on.
It literally says they taught it whom to ferry. And what is
exactly.
Lapras? The ferry Pokemon.
Thank you, yes. Yeah, so I did, there we go. Another water ice type, we come in with Cloyster. Secretly one of my favourite designs for Pokemon, even though it is basic bitch little face with a shell around it.
Yeah, it's very questionably innuendo-y.
Yes, after these games. Because
in this game, it's the other way around.
The sprite in this game has it landscape before it became...
Which makes it way... it's the bivalve kind. It follows after Shelder. Shelder is flat, and then that should also be flat, instead of going, hey, let's... I
actually have a bit of a soft spot for a lot of the kind of big fortressy clamshell Pokemon. I think they're kind of cool.
Toxapex is one of my favourite Pokemon.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Fucking, there's nothing. There's like, I was looking at like crabs. Maybe I was gonna like cheat it with a crab, but that's obviously Kingler and Krabby. In the end, I did find from Time Spiral, Giant Oyster.
Oh, yeah, of course, Giant
Oyster. There you go. Giant Oyster is a shell with a pearl in it in the thing, and it's giant. 0-3, so again, it's got a big old butt. You may choose not to untap Giant Oyster during your untap step, and when you tap it, as long as Giant Oyster remains tapped, target tapped creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. So it kind of, it knocks it down. It's got Aurora Beam and Clamp as two of its abilities, which kind of lock down Pokemon. I thought it kind of worked.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's maybe the cleanest one out of this debacle that is this team. Slowbro, I'm going to tackle next. Really weird design. Now, Nathan, Slowbro. If it's like a mammal, or some sort of fleshy thing.
Some kind of fleshy thing.
A fleshy animal that has evolved because a crustacean-y animal has been fused onto it.
Yes.
That's where I'm going.
Yep, cool. Yeah.
So if I'm combining two completely different creatures into one mess of a hodgepodge, I've gone for Shamble Shark.
Okay, yeah.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
Like
semi-crustacean-y.
The Wesley Burt artwork for Shamble Shark shows a big-bellied hammerhead shark with crustacean legs.
That makes a lot more Slowbro than I was expecting. Yeah, for sure.
That's about as far as I got with that.
That's fair. I mean, the only thing I could think of is if you went for, what was the Lumbering Tower shell, when it has that thing where it phase out because it's the slowest of the bros.
Yeah.
But then you're still stretching in another
So
direction.
stretched. The last Pokemon I'm going to talk about on Lorelei's team.
What's wrong with Jinx? There's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the design of Jinx.
Nathan, I know you're being facetious.
Especially this sprite.
Look, okay, so we have to talk about this sprite.
Yeah,
actually, we have to real talk about this sprite just for a second. I mean, we can poke fun at it now. Generally, we can poke fun at it because also they've not taken Jinx out of the rotation. They haven't had to cancel Jinx.
No, they've obviously done a massive colour shift.
So, US listeners will obviously be familiar with racial stereotypes, like things like the black and white minstrel show, or just like the kind of Jim Crow era of depictions of black people, which is obviously not great. We have those in the UK and other parts of Europe as well, which were which had the same sort of blackface style depiction of black people.
With like clowny kind of features.
You can shorten the word of that doll to the slur.
Yes.
But just suffice to say, as you can predict, the depiction of like black and brown people in the world has not been great. And in anime and some Japanese media, even today, they still fall into some of the same pitfalls, even if you can maybe give them the good faith grace argument of that's actually not what they're going for. It was just more of like a sincere misrepresentation of a group of people. And Jinx is even a further representation of that, where it's like, I sincerely don't know if it was ever really proven that they were going to go for racial stereotypes with Jinx. However, with the black and white sprites and the original colouring for Jinx, it was just so close to those cartoonish, offensive depictions of black people. So later on, they changed Jinx's skin colour to a more light purple. But that's actually kind of all they changed, right? Yeah. Everything else was relatively the same, and that was kind of enough to, like, sort of show a bit of grace and move on.
Because it was supposed to be human, it's supposed to be a Yukiona, which, fine, fair enough, but yeah, the way they did it.
Yeah.
Because, like, Frostlass is a great example of how you can make a humanoid mythical creature and be like, hey, cool, this is very clearly still a Pokemon, very clearly not, racially charged.
Jinx was absolutely fucking not it. So imagine my joy when I had to find a card that represents Jinx. I didn't want to touch this with a 10-foot fucking barge pole, but I've gone ahead and done it. What I focused on is not a fucking humanoid. Let's just say that for like now. What I focused on is the fact that Jinx is wearing sort of like robe-like clothing, has kind of big arms. This sprite doesn't show off that much, but the design of Jinx, she's got these kind of big sort of like huggy, slappy arms. I mean, she has double slap as one of her maneuvers. And, she's kind of a watery... She's ice psychic, but she's kind of affiliated with water and ice. God. I went with the cephalids.
Yeah, sure.
Because the depictions of cephalids, they all have kind of big headdresses that matches Jinx's hair. They've all got these arms and these big flowy things.
And you're getting slapped by something with multiple tentacles.
Exactly. I went with Hlawan Cephalid Empress. Again, another sort of like big, powerful female energy going on there.
Yeah, that's got some Jinx vibes to it.
Yeah, I think so. 3 and a blue for a 2/3. When Hlawan Cephalid Empress comes into play, return all blue creatures your opponents control to their own hands. Your opponents can't play blue creature spells. So again, a little bit control-y, which, with your double slaps and your ice punches and your thrashes, I think kind of works out nice. Yeah. That took way too long because it was such a fucking shit show. That's my Lorelei.
Okay, cool. From one shit show to another. Bruno.
So just bigger Brock?
Yeah, but who's the most himbo character in Magic?
See, now, right, here's the interesting thing. I erroneously did a Bruno because I forgot what Aurora was.
Bruno was first. As most people, I think, presume.
Yeah. Tyvar, did you go for?
I went for Tyvar.
Do you want to hear what my other potential picks for him was? Big, muscly, macho. I had Ajani, Vengeant, specifically.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Then I thought maybe Garruk.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, Garruk would have been
And
good.
then I landed on when I thought I was still doing this. But then I changed it because it can't work within the context of what the other trainers are. Sarkhan Unbroken. Because he lives in the mountains, he's a big muscly boy. But he's a dragon trainer.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't go for I think of even something like Gideon, because obviously Gideon is known specifically for hand-to-hand combat.
Oh, I guess.
Which I guess Tyvar is also, but obviously Tyvar. I guess it also works because Tyvar also works with other materials like rocks, and then he has 2 onyx, which is as close as a making that sense as I possibly can. Let's get the onyx out of the way. I obviously also thought of Stone Coil Serpent, but I managed to find 2 alternatives. One of them's way more of a stretch than the other one. I wanted to find things that were serpentine, but then also artifacts, because for me, being a rock-type Pokemon is the same as being an artifact creature in Magic.
Oh, interesting.
Of where he has that elemental kind of quality, but in terms of not being fleshy, So the first one I found was Clockwork Dragon, which the artwork for looks quite similar to an Onyx if you take away the fact that it has wings. Also the fact that it's kind of fragile, the fact it gets weaker quite easily because you lose +1/+1 counters on every upkeep. I'm sorry, I just realised I'm going to have to get it back up again because I keep deleting my tabs looking up for the cards that you do. But that's not a million miles away from an Onyx.
Oh, I think that's pretty good.
That's pretty good for an Onyx, Clockwork Dragon.
And also you could argue that that's foreshadowing to Steelix.
Yes, exactly, going full metal. Nice, exactly.
See, you thought about it.
And then also the ability of Clockwork or Dragon, whenever it attacks or blocks, remove a counter from it. I'm like, well, Onyx is already pretty weak, and it only gets weaker. Technically, Clockwork Dragon is a 0/0. So that makes it make sense to me. And then Onyx number 2, which on my list is actually number 1, Coiled, I think it's called Tin Snake. Again, one moment. Can't even many coileds are there. Yeah, Coiled Tin Viper. An artifact snake. Now, it has first strike because Onyx are surprisingly quick, but it's only a 2/1 because it has actually quite low attack and it's actually weak to a lot of things.
Oh, that's cool.
Again, it just kind of looks a little bit like...
Yeah, the face looks like
it's
it.
just a stony kind of snake. Right, good, that's Onyx out of the way. We don't have to talk about Onyx ever again. Good lord. For such an impressive Pokemon...
Like, if you had one in real life, you'd be like, what
holy
the fuck?
shit.
Yeah.
But in the games, it's so disappointing. And again, you face it so early on. The fact that Brock uses that instead of any of the other rock types. Imagine if Brock had a Rhyhorn, which is still as weak as an Onyx is in terms of, like, if you find the weakness to it, you're going to beat it quite easily. And then also, if you're trying to use normal type moves against it, you're going to lose anyway. So it's all still testing you in the way of find the weakness, and that's the point of Brock's gym, is go out and find a Pokemon that actually can fucking beat this, because your Pikachu ain't doing shit, mate.
Yeah, neither is just Charmander.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it would have then meant they would have been less incentivized to let Rhyhorn onto Giovanni's team, and then everything gets fixed. Game Freak, you fucked your games up. So we then move into, which gets really difficult, 3 humanoid Pokemon.
Yeah.
Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, and Machamp.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to go in order of what I think makes more sense. So Hitmonlee, and I've kind of used this character before, Zethine, because I couldn't find... Like, how would you even go about this? Trying to find a creature that isn't a human, that is really known well for kicking. I don't even think there is a way to actually
I'll be honest with you, when I was thinking about this, because I thought I was doing Bruno, I went for humans.
Yeah, so I went for Zethie, which is the multi-kicky Shunlin analog from Street Fighter.
Chun-Li,
exactly. Where are we? Zethie again. I need to do the thing of where I'm missing a tab. She has multi-kicker, Arcane Blade Master. She does some instant sorcery nonsense. The only reason I went for her is because she's the only legendary humanoid-y thing that had multi-kicker, because Hitmonlee kicks a lot. And then, can you look up the card for me quickly? Fists of the Anvil.
I can picture it in my mind.
Yeah, this is one of the first foils I ever had in Magic. And I still have it to this day, and I very nearly had it in... I nearly made a Vadric deck. I went through a cycle of about 6-month journey of trying to make an Izzet deck that wasn't complete bullshit.
Are you about to do a spell rather than a creature?
Yeah. Because I couldn't find anything really super punchy that wasn't either something like Street Fighter, or something that was like... There's the one from the Strixhaven Commander one where it gives your commander creatures hexproof. And I can't remember what his exact name is, but it's like, a fist. He's a fist mage. And there's also the backside of another Strixhaven couple where it's a blue on the front side, green on the back side. And again, he's got this big old fist coming towards the screen. And they're both orky kind of things. And
could you have gone for something that had like 4 arms or like?
Well, we'll get to that.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
Yeah. So that was kind of a little bit stuck. And
what about you didn't want to do a human, did you?
No,
because you have like Tenacious Underdog as a boxer.
Precisely. I could have gone for any number of wrestler things, and it would have just been another human. I felt like the reason Teo worked is because his abilities made sense for it. And then just whenever I thought punching and having these big old things on the end of your fist that don't make a lot of sense, because Hitmonchan having boxing gloves as part of its anatomy doesn't make a lot of sense.
And a boxer's tunic.
Yeah,
he looks like Balrog from Street Fighter.
I don't need to look up your you don't need a skirt.
Yeah.
Why have you got a skirt? But the fact that Fist of the Anvil, the Pete Ventures one, because I don't think either. I think they're both the same artwork anyway. Yeah, they are. Cool, wonderful. It's just giant, massive fucking fist. Give the creature +4/+0, and I thought Goblin was just close enough to being a humanoid without being a human.
I suppose the fact that it's a spell with a creature on it.
Yeah.
Is.
And the thing that it's doing is a physical object as well. So that's why I went for Fist of the Anvil. Punching, it sits in my mind, and it's a very personal pick because I can't think of any other card other than this when I think of punching. And then we move to Hitmonchan. Not Hitmonchan. Machamp. That fusion Pokemon, apparently. We're doing infinite fusions today. Machamp, there is already a precursor, a thing set in Magic for 4-armed creatures. And what would that be, Andy? As a test of your Magic knowledge.
The Tarkir demons?
Yeah, indeed! Even the Rakshasa, which got changed from being cats to being just generic demons. So the one I went for was Rakshasa... Rockhurst Rakshasa. So I'm going to quickly look it up.
From Dragons of Tarkir.
Most recent set, yeah. Originally I was thinking of the one from the original...
Butcher of the Horde,
yeah. And I was then thinking of the recent one, which had the Butcher of the Horde's skull in the foreground of. But the reason I went for Rockhurst is because... Is because it's a 5/5 with Trample for 2. Which means it hits really, really hard, quite quickly, which Machamp does. It's quite speedy, it hits quite hard. But then it's also quite frozen. It's got Decayed. So whenever it attacks, you sacrifice it and it can't block. Now, what is one of Machamp's abilities in the later games?
Submission?
No Guard.
No Guard.
Which is similar to can't block because moves can't miss, and they can't miss against you, which kind of works with this creature can't block things. It can't block attacks or have attacks missed by it, and then usually once it's hit you really, really fucking hard, it usually dies quite quickly afterwards to a flying type move or a psychic type move, because any psychic type Pokemon in this game completely wrecks Machamp.
Yeah.
So that was my Bruno.
I think that's pretty good.
It wasn't bad. It's the fact you get 2 Onix and then 3 humanoids. I was like, shit.
All right, Agatha. Potentially the most dickhead of all the trainers that you face, including
the second poison
Giovanni.
type trainer.
Well, yeah, she's essentially meant to be the ghost type, but all the ghost type Pokemon in Pokemon Gen 1 are poison.
Yeah, and there are only 3 of them, and it's all the same evolution, so you kind of have to diversify.
Yeah, and then the other 2 Pokemon are the poison types.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Planeswalker first.
Ooh, yeah. I think I already know what you're going to go for.
So, in Pokemon, they don't have zombie Pokemon because in parts of Asia, predominantly China really, but in parts of Asia, zombies and skeletons are kind of not a thing.
They're taboo. Yeah, they're a little bit.
It's just not the same sensibility as the West, right? Or indeed parts of Africa.
That's why they usually go for spirity kind of things, like Grudge and stuff like that.
Yeah,
right?
obviously, like modern, like sort of like World War Z zombies are like it's not quite as taboo, but like the depiction of death's kind of got a different spin.
Yeah,
so they go for ghosties. So if the ghost Pokemon are the undead of the Pokemon world, so we're looking at undead Pokemon or undead Planeswalkers. So, okay, there's a couple that spring to mind already. And then Agatha as a character, she's an older woman. She uses a cane. She has a previous relationship with a nerdy fucking nerd, i.e. Professor Oak. And she is a bit of like a mentor and I'm going to fucking teach you how to do this right. So I'm going for Professor Onyx.
Yeah, makes sense, yeah. I like it.
In the card art, Liliana has a cane. Yeah. She has a nerdy boyfriend in Jace.
See, I was going to think you were going to go for Kaya because she's the only Planeswalker that can go ghosty.
Oh, Kaya's a good idea as well. But yeah, no. But like, I'm going for Liliana. She's
that works,
yeah.
That old tutory kind of effect, yeah. That feeling.
Yeah. Sure. I like it a lot. Okay. You're going to have to get off my case on this one. Bloodhunter Bat is going to be my Golbat. Mm-hmm. So we've got a Golbat, we've got an Arbok, we've got a Haunter, and 2 Gengars. She's got 2 Ace Pokemon.
Yes, and they serve quite different roles as well, if I remember
Confuse Ray, Nightshade, Hypnosis, Dream Eater.
Yeah, this team's just a bunch of nonsense.
But then the level 60 Gengar, on my one, you're going to have to tell me different now, it's got Confuse Ray, Nightshade, Toxic, Dream Eater, but no way to put the Pokemon to sleep for Dream Eater.
No.
What the fuck is that about?
I guess the idea is that you should only send it out late. I don't know what the J1 AI is, by the way. It's probably complete nutter butters. But I guess the idea is if any of the early ones manage to hypnotise you, you would then swap over.
The Haunter, which is level 55, and the other Gengar that's 56 have exactly the same moveset. But then, the level 60 Gengar has a redundant move.
This game was put together with duct tape. So.
Golbat had Supersonic, Confuse Ray, Wing Attack, Haze. So it's got a Ghost move and Confuse Ray, but like nothing else. Mm-hmm. And then the Arbok's got Bite, Glare, fucking Glare, Screech.
Yeah, the moves. I mean, Glare is a great ability.
But Screech in an Elite Four?
Especially you're using Screech, which makes your... Well, I guess Ghost-type moves, even though the only one is Nightshade, does a fixed amount of damage. Ghost-type moves back then were physical, not special. I believe.
Isn't Nightshade variable depending on what level the Pokemon is? But
it's a set amount of damage based on that level. But even having Screech doesn't make sense when you're supposed to be a special attacking trainer, right? Because it reduces your defense, not your special defense.
So, for Golbat, there's obviously lots of bats in Magic the Gathering, that's fine. The reason I went with Bloodhunter Bat is because not only does the artwork for Bloodhunter Bat, the bat's pose has kind of like these raised wings, which is very much what the Golbat sprite was in Gen 1. But it also has, when Bloodhunter Bat enters the battlefield, target player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. There's actually a surprisingly few number of bats that have like a leech life effect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you mean. It's funny. I think my mind immediately went because of the sprite, because the sprite's so horrific with a tongue. I went to like the Keru, the vampires from Tarkir.
I did think of them as well, yeah,
because they also are vampires that try to suck blood.
I mean, I did say leech life, which is obviously Zubat's like signature move. The Golbat doesn't have any of that shit, so maybe that's a bit of fucking shit. Okay, then let's go with the Arbok. So again, there's a few snakes, but I thought I'd have to go with the Cobra. So I went with Crypt Cobra, which is from oh my god, what's the palm tree set symbol? Mirage, thank you. I was going like Oasis? It's not Oasis. 3 and a black for a 3/3 Cobra, which is like it's like a skeletal cobra that's choking someone out. If Crypt Cobra attacks and is not blocked, defending player gets a poison counter. So again, it's got this kind of poison effect, right?
Makes sense.
Well, it's kind of good. Okay, on to the main show. So, there is actually, again, in Magic, when you type in spirit, it's all like geists. They're not really like spooky ghosts. They're like, oh, I've unfinished business.
Yeah, you'd have to go look for like horror or nightmare, right?
Nightmare is kind of where I landed, right? So, Dread Presence is my Gengar.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
Arms, eyes. You know where I'm going?
Yeah.
Arms and eyes.
Kind of spooky looking.
Yeah. And with the kind of Confuse Ray aspect of it, where it's like, obviously, if you make the Pokemon confused, it does damage to itself. I don't know, like chip damage. So Dread Presence deals 2 damage to any target, and you gain 2 life when a swamp comes into play. I don't know, I just kind of thought that was the one, right? And then Hypnosis and Dream Eater, I don't know, tempo play. So, I only did 1 for Gengar. I didn't do 2 because I wussed out.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And I went with Braid's Arisen Nightmare.
Sure.
I don't know, man. Just her big smile and the fact that she's a bit mischievous, but now she's a nightmare for some fucking reason.
Nightmare, yeah. That
and
makes sense.
you know, and it also again, it's got another like sort of chip damagey aspect to it, a little bit like the kind of Confuse Ray and the Toxic with the level 60 Gengar. I don't know. It's tough. There weren't that many just like straight up like poltergeisty ghosts. You had poltergeist, like it's literally a thing, but like, you know.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't do like later generations. Like, imagine trying to have to find a magic card that represents a ghost teapot.
I'm fucking sure fucking Duskmourn's got something. Do you know what I mean? It's probably got a card that's
Take
just
the vitriolic
teapot.
anger from one franchise and the other and combine them together.
Oh, fucking don't get me started on fucking Ghost Tea. Oh, what do you mean one of them is fake and the other one's real?
Yeah.
The cup isn't part of the
What do
Pokemon.
you mean it's branded?
Like, no, because they explicitly say the Pokemon seek out the cups.
Yeah. So do some of them fancy? Are some
Yeah,
of them fancy Pokemon.
but then
like
what
the
does that
posh one?
fucking matter? Like the cup has no. You could put it in a fucking terracotta plant pot. It'd still be the same Pokemon.
Because I guess right. So you need a different item to evolve them, right? So the fancy Sinistea doesn't actually like you just giving it a regular teapot. It's like no. It needs to be the fucking fancy one, otherwise I'm not evolving for you.
I hated it. I hate it.
Yeah,
One of them's a cake, and they eat it.
Yeah, when Pokemon are food, you got to worry, right? Because any Pokemon's are food if you're brave enough.
I mean, technically, all the fish Pokemon are food. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yes,
like,
absolutely. Well, it's funny, right? Because in Pokemon there are seagulls, right? There's as much.
There's regular animals.
There's regular animals as well, which makes no sense. But also, I'm glad it does make some sense because where would you draw the line?
Well, I mean,
are your bacteria Pokemon?
in a well, I mean, what? There, this is. I can't see the Pokemon. Yeah, it's a virus, and like your Pikachu just fucking disintegrates.
Yeah. So I can take that to the Pokemon Center, right? Sure. I've melted your Pokemon
to bury it.
Yeah, like imagine so. Just very quick aside. There's one thing being electrocuted. There's another thing being set on fire. Acid.
Mm-hmm.
I just cast acid. I had my Pokemon spit corrosive acid at your Pokemon. Your Pokemon is now melted corpse.
Sorry, Nathan.
Just take that to the Pokemon Center.
My Pokemon is gonna make your Pokemon go unconscious and then eat its dreams.
Yeah, like that's not okay.
So it's just gonna wipe its mind.
And revive is just what, like a cube little candy?
Yeah.
What the fuck is in that stuff that it can bring something
back? The potions are just an antiseptic spray.
Yeah.
Fuck. So here's a lemonade, quick!
Anyway, Lance, Dragon Trainer. It's Sarkin.
It's
Sarkin!
Great choice.
Of course it was. It couldn't be anything otherwise. What's disappointing here is I completely forgot that he doesn't have a Charizard in this generation.
No.
And I was going to be like, well, it's the original dragon.
Yeah.
And what types is it?
It's flying fire.
And what is Sheevan Dragon? It's got flying and it has fire breathing.
Yeah.
It would have been perfect!
Yeah.
But it's not on the team, so that's just an honourable mention. It starts with the Gyarados. I kind of stuck with a similar thing of where we're in the Elite Four now, so we're doing legendary creatures. And I had a couple to choose from. I was going to say Coma because it's such a dominant force, but I think it works better as EC, AC, UAC, however you want to call it, the Dire Straits.
Someone had a really fun time in a design meeting one day going, I'm making all Simic sea serpents and they're all going to be fucking busted. Yeah,
right. I mean, it's any Simic legend where it involves some kind of land thing. It's like, all right, cool, you're done. And don't get me wrong, like, I went through a fair few serpents, especially also for Dragonair, because it fit more with the aesthetic of all of them. But there just aren't any really AC is obviously a serpent. It's not any other type. So, but
you don't think of going for Kyger, the Tidestorm, whatever it's called.
We'll get there.
Fucking alright.
So it was even things like you've got Denizen the Deep, Deep Sea Terror. None of them looked particularly like Gyarados. Even Frilled Sea Serpent, which is the closest one, because it's got the frillichiness kind of. It just didn't feel good enough. It's just there aren't really very many good serpents. So EC was like the best serpent that I could find, other than Coma. And Gyarados doesn't feel like a Coma. Coma doesn't feel like a Gyarados. I guess the only other one that I was looking at was Lockmere Serpent, but that is more Mega Gyarados than regular Gyarados. Then we move on to 2 Dragonairs, and as you just kind of spoiled, thanks for that, brilliant, wonderful. I went for Kyger. Because I was thinking...
Oh, wow!
And then I also went, because there is the reincarnation, Kyrie.
Yeah.
So Kyrie and Kyger makes sense, both of those being equal in what they are. I didn't necessarily go by abilities or anything like that. Aerodactyl, my initial thought was Bonehorde Dracossaur.
Oh god, he's got an Aerodactyl, doesn't he?
Yeah, which is very, very cool. And again, if you haven't picked up the old Amber and worked out how to get it revived, because how would you? Because no one's told you that. You're suddenly like, I want that fucking Pokemon.
Well, I had one of the original Nintendo official guides that had the stickers in the back.
Oh, and it tells you how to get everything.
Yeah.
Nice. So originally I was going to go with Bonehorde Dracossaur because it was the first thing I could think in my head that was like a pterodactyl style kind of dinosaur. It wasn't rocky enough. But then there aren't any that are rocky enough, and then I realised that if I'm doing legendary, what's the most legendary pterodactyl you can think of that's in every deck?
Zatalba!
So yeah, that kind of, when Aerodactyl comes out, and again quite fast, quite strong, and it comes in and wrecks house, it has that similar feeling of just seeing a horizon-spanning pterodactyl coming at you.
I mean, have you even played EDH if you haven't built a deck with Zatalpa in it?
Yeah, have you even played EGH if you haven't bought a precon that even if it was off colour has a Zatalpa in it? And then we finish on Dragonite now. This is kind of funny, right? Because to me, the ultimate form of Dragonair should be something like Urion.
Sure.
Which was a flying fucking serpent. It's a fish serpent. I looked at it and I went, that's exactly what Dragonite should look like. And instead, I ended up with, and you're not going to like it because it's technically Universes Beyond, Themberchild, because there's no right that Dragonite can fly with the wings that it's got, and it should really have to exert itself to be able to fly like Themberchild does. And I know, but he's the chonkiest dragon that I could find, and Dragonite is the chonkiest boy, and it's not my fault they designed him like that. Okay? I could have gone through the other 450 odd fucking dragons and found one that was like, well, this one looks the most like Dragonite. No. That Dragonite shouldn't be able to fly, and if it does, it should come at exceptional cost to itself in terms of energy, and that's exactly
He's
what
a friendly
Themberchild
post
has.
boy.
That post is late. You're not telling me anything else. I don't care.
Have you seen Pokemon Generations?
Yeah, yes.
The Lance scene where
one of my favourite iterations of Pokemon ever.
Yeah,
made.
it's great.
It's insane.
Lance's Dragonite in that when they take on the Team Rocket lab, and he just fucking...
He's just hyper beaming everyone.
He just mega punches the fucking console.
Mate, what I love is that doesn't hold back on. Lance is mental, mate. He's taking a Dragonite. He goes, so what everyone else sees, right, is they see this normal little Radio Shack in this tiny little kind of village or whatever. This guy just makes balls. He just makes balls out of apricorns. And then Lance just barrels into this tiny little cottagey thing with a dragon, and all you can see is he's just shaking as he's blasting everybody with hyper beams. Actual humans. These guys are dead. You just killed everyone.
Oh, there's lots of that. It also brings the real grim reality of Team Rocket members ganging up on a 10-year-old, because in that TV show, it's no, they're gangsters. They're gonna kill him.
Well, the way I thought this the other day, I was watching a random speed run, and someone was like, "All right, so we're at the Giovanni fight in the Sylph Tower." I'm like, he's fighting with a Kangaskhan on the 16th floor. Obviously, it's not. It's the 7th floor, but in a real world, it would be it'd be a really, really high skyscraper. It'll probably be at the 17th, 18th floor or whatever. Kangaskhan's a giant fucking dinosaur kangaroo. Did you structural damage anybody?
Yeah.
Come on, again, we're trying to make sense of Pokemon through the lens of magic, so yeah, whatever. So yeah, a bunch of legends. EC, Zatalpa, Kyger, Kyrie, and then Themberchild, because my personal gripe with Dragonite will forever live.
Oh, I like
Should have been Urion. Should have had a better design. Not my fault. And then we both were supposed to look at the champion.
Couldn't be bothered.
Neither of us did. So I guess we'll have a little flight. Should we just do a little flight? What are we at? What's our timing like?
We're at an hour 37.
Oh, we should probably wrap it up then, really, shouldn't we? Because technically the champion is a trainer, and he's not part of the Elite Four.
No.
So, fuck him. Also, he's blue. No one likes blue. No one likes blue. Also, they would have to... Also, just to be clear, okay, at this point, Gyarados already done. Arcanine already done. Rhydon already done. Alakazam already done. So at that point, the only thing we have to worry about would be Venusaur.
Okay.
Which, fuck it, Calamax, something like that, I don't know.
What's the big frog?
Oh, Gitron Monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Gitron Monster.
It's Gitron Monster.
Pidgeot.
Any bird.
Any bird. I don't think they're right. How many legendary birds are there? Kakar. fuck it.
Yeah, it's Kaika.
It's Kaika. Because he's got Mirror Move, which is like a big kind of move. Done. Sick. We should have just done. We should have done flyby quick answers for all of them. This would have been much better.
Oh god.
Cool. Well, that's Pokemon the Gathering.
Episode 151.
Yeah.
I'm really
cast them all.
I'm really proud that we've gotten this far doing this podcast. Thank you for sticking with us and listening through all these things. We're not like wrapping up now. We've still got a ways to go, I think.
If you don't like Pokemon, I'm really sorry for this episode.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder, like, because I think I just take it as a given that anyone who's remotely nerdy, even if they're not into Pokemon, absolutely 100% everything that we just said.
Yeah.
But that can't be true.
No, it's not true. Oh, sorry, there is something to be said for the amount of custom magic cards that I've seen, the amount of sets that I've seen that people have done of where they've gone, this is the first 151 Pokemon, and I've created the evolve mechanic, and I've created cards that go with what those Pokemon are some of the best custom designs I've ever seen. Like when you do it as a full generational set as well, like sometimes it's a bit overcooked, but some of the ones I've seen have been absolutely phenomenal, and that's another rabbit hole to go down to. If you're into Pokemon, into Magic, go and have a look at some of those. I'm sure you already have, because there are some great iterations.
The mechanic for evolving Pokemon in the Pokemon TCG is sort of evolve. Sort of mutate anyway.
Yeah, you layer over the top of.
Yeah. I played, as I'm sure regular listeners know, I did play the Pokemon TCG for about 6 months. It wasn't that I got bored of it. I think it rotates very quickly. Yeah. And I think I was just like, I was happy playing the 3 or 4 decks that I'd really nailed down the meta and played. I don't play standard in Magic, but I essentially played standard in Pokemon TCG. And had fun, and then it kind of, when they were swapped round again, I was like, I think I'm okay.
But that's exactly why you don't play standard for Magic, right? That's why you play EDH, because your decks are. Or you can pick. You could stop the game for a couple of years for any number of personal reasons. Come back and be like, cool, I'll just pick up my old Karlov deck. I know how it runs. It's still going to have some chops.
It's still going to play.
It's still going to be fine. Yeah, so you can't do that with a standard rotation formats.
Yeah, it's also insanely fast. It's just really quick. Like there are no grindy games.
Yeah, it's either I've won or you've won, and it's pretty obvious quite quickly if that's going to happen or not.
Yeah, there's also very little. I've already spoken about this. There's very little like hand disruption, except for Iona, which is one of the trainer cards that you basically.
The new electric trainer.
Yeah. You shuffle your hand and their hand into the decks. And then draw new cards.
Oh, it's Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, cool. But that in Pokemon, that's like really fucked because you might have
the
perfect, and then it gets flushed away. Very clever.
Well, I mean, that's the same with Magic, right? If someone plays, there are 2 types of reactions to Wheel of Fortune or Wheel of Misfortune or any number of Wheel effects. One of them's like, okay.
Yeah,
the other one's, fuck yeah, give me some more cards. I don't want these anymore.
It's also a game built around tutoring. So
you're already sculpting that hand to be able to go off. So having that as you say, disruption when you're not used to
rare really candies basically they help you skip an evolution. So in a lot of meta decks, people won't play a Charmeleon, or they'll have one in the deck in case.
Just in case
they'll have 4 of rare candy. They'll have 3 Charmanders, 4 Charizards, and then they'll have a bunch of ways to tutor up the rare candy. So you turn one.
So it's much more, you're championing as one. It's like Voltron essentially, right? Where you're really, really pushing just for this one gameplay.
Yeah, then you layer up all your energy onto that one Pokemon, you evolve it, boom, go in.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Anyway, let us know on Bluesky or on our email, mtflavouring@gmail.com, what Pokemon you would have chosen that we wouldn't have chosen. I think it was a little bit tight, a little bit messy in places. I'm absolutely open to hear people's opinions.
This made me very much feel like, please don't suggest for us to do Gen 2. One, most of them are worse teams than the Gen 1 teams, mostly with Pokemon from Gen 1 anyway. And 2, this was hard. This was a lot of putting in a lot of time to get nothing out of it, because you just say, there's got to be surely a tree folk that works as a Vileplume.
Nope. And let us know if there's any other fandoms that you care enough about that you would like to hear some kind of, I guess it's like pseudo universes beyond, which I fucking despise. This was a terrible idea.
But we chose to do it, and I think.
And I love Pokemon, and you love Pokemon.
I do.
Thank you very much for listening. This has been episode 151 of Magic the Flavouring.
We'll see you soon.